Long before 205 Live was a thing, and long before WWE graced us with this purple belt, the WWF had the Light Heavyweight Championship. The assumption has always been that the Light Heavyweight title was Vince McMahon's answer to WCW's highly entertaining Cruiserweight division, and while there is some truth to that statement, you may be surprised to learn that the WWF Light Heavyweight title was actually around well before the first WrestleMania event. So in this video, we'll have a brief look at the WWF Light Heavyweight title. Unlike his son, Vince McMahon Snr was quite open to working with other promotions, usually on handshake agreements. Before Vincent Kennedy McMahon would attempt to seize control over every territory he could get his hands on, his dad was able to establish a good relationship with Mexican promotion UWA. As a gesture of goodwill and also to establish the WWF name in Mexico, the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship was created. On March 26, 1981, legendary Lucha Libre heel Perro Aguayo became the first ever WWF Light Heavyweight Champion. For the next 15 years, the Light Heavyweight title was defended in Mexico with some appearances in Japan. Aguayo held the title 7 times, matching Villano III for the record of most reigns with the title. Villano, though, held the title for a staggering 2,040 combined days, making him the forgotten hero of the Light Heavyweight belt. Another notable name who held the belt would be the Pegasus Kid, also known as Chris Benoit. Pegasus Kid captured the title in 1991 and held the title for an insane 560 days. So there's a nice bit of trivia for you. Keep in mind though, the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship wasn't defended with the same frequency as today's titles, so that helps explain the insane length of some of these title reigns. The UWA was forced to close its doors in 1995, and in 1996, the Light Heavyweight belt made its way over to Japan, being defended at Michinoku Pro and New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Great Suzuki, owner of Michinoku Pro, held the title after it migrated, and other key holders of the title included El Samurai, Jushin Thunder Liger and Ultimo Dragon. A famous picture was taken when Ultimo won the Super J Cup, capturing 8 titles which included both the WWF Light Heavyweight title and the WCW title. It's very possible that this photo, along with the great feedback WCW was receiving for its Cruiserweight division, forced Vince McMahon to recall the belt and bring it to American soil. While Vince McMahon would normally shy away from smaller than small wrestlers, at least in his eyes, he would need to bring in lighter wrestlers to compete in his own Cruiserweight division in 1997. The WWF brought in wrestlers from the USWA and signed a working agreement with Michinoku Pro, which, as we explained earlier, was founded by the Great Suzuki, who had already held the title in Japan. Keep in mind though that this wasn't the first time that Vince McMahon tried to dabble in Cruiserweight and Light Heavyweight wrestling using other promotions. As you may recall, at the 1997 Royal Rumble, there was a lot of AAA and Lucha Libre wrestlers involved in that event. A widely believed story at one point was that the Great Suzuki told media reporters in Japan that he was going to be crowned the first ever WWF Light Heavyweight Champion when the belt re-debuts in the WWF in 97, and he also promised he would only defend the title in Japan once he wins it. Suzuki had defeated Taka Michinoku a few times on Raw and on pay-per-view, so he was feeling confident enough to make empty promises. After hearing these comments, Vince McMahon decided, no, fuck that, and decided to book Taka Michinoku as the first champion. Bruce Pritchard, however, debunked this story on his podcast when he said that the WWF never had any kind of working agreement with Suzuki or Michinoku Pro. They were never interested in signing Great Suzuki, and Taka had always been in mind as the first signee and champion. This wasn't the only issue that WWF would have to deal with when introducing their newly created division. Second generation star Scott Putski, son of Ivan Putski, was touted for big things in WWF apparently, and he was booked as an early favourite in the Light Heavyweight division. Scott suffered a serious knee injury in September of 97 that subsequently ended his WWF career. It was a pretty gruesome injury caught on cameras at In Your House Ground Zero. In order to crown the first WWF Light Heavyweight Champion on US soil, and the first to be recognised by WWE, the company decided to hold a tournament that would end at In Your House D-Generation X. Competitors in the tournament included Taka Michinoku, Fleisch Flanagan, Super Loco, and Devon Storm. In the end, Taka Michinoku defeated Bran in the finals of the tournament. Of all the choices available, this was the best choice for sure. Taka would go on to hold the title for nearly a year, but already the division did not meet the standards set by WCW and the Cruiserweight division. While matches were more quick paced, there was still a lack of breathtaking risks seen normally in the WCW division. Still, not ones to give up, WWF persevered, and the title would remain in the WWF for the next 4 years. Christian ended up defeating Taka for the title at In Your House Judgment Day in 1998, ending the long reign Michinoku had with the belt. The belt then went from Christian to Gilbert, a comedy character created to poke fun at WCW. From here, it now becomes pretty difficult to take the belt seriously anymore. The belt was pretty much used as a prop. S.A. Rios, Crash Holly, Scotty Hotty, and even Jerry Lynn would hold the belt in the years that followed. The one that I remember the most though, and the one that I thought could bring back some prestige to the belt, was Dean Malenko. I think if anybody could have brought the division to where it needed to be, it would have been Dean Malenko. But unfortunately, the title was demoted to a lower card belt, regularly featured on WWF Seed shows. When WWE purchased WCW in 2001, it acquired the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. X-Pac would win the Light Heavyweight and Cruiserweight titles at the same time. He was booked to defend his titles at the 2001 Survivor Series, but an injury forced him out of the match. Vince McMahon decided that the WCW Cruiserweight title held more prestige than the Light Heavyweight title, and therefore the WWF Light Heavyweight title just disappeared. The Cruiserweight title was renamed as the WWF Cruiserweight Championship, and so the Light Heavyweight title was deactivated and gone forever. Was it a total failure? I wouldn't say so. Some people have fond memories of the early Taka Michinoku matches in 1997, but WCW purists for sure will scoff at the WWF attempt to capitalise on the exciting Cruiserweight division. So what matches should you check out from the WWF's Light Heavyweight division? I'd say the first one you need to see is Taka Michinoku vs Great Suzuki at In Your House Canadian Stampede. It seemed here that the WWE expected Great Suzuki to get the cheers, but everybody actually loved Taka Michinoku. This one's worth checking out for sure. The next match I'd recommend checking out would be Taka vs Bran at In Your House D-Generation X, simply for the fact that this was the end of the tournament, and you'll be able to see Taka Michinoku's crowning moment as the first WWF Light Heavyweight Champion, as recognised by WWE. The next one's a bit of an odd one, but do hear me out. It's Dean Malenko vs Scotty Hotty at Backlash 2000. Now before you go mad, listen to me. This is a really good Dean Malenko match, and it showed that he could still go in the year 2000. Definitely check this one out, and trust me, you'll be glad you did. And finally, do check out X-Pac vs Tajiri from SummerSlam 2001. It is quite remarkable just to see somebody holding the Cruiserweight Championship and the Light Heavyweight Championship at the same time.